done a number of them.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of AWS On Air, your weekly show where we go over some of the latest and greatest launch announcements here at AWS. And this is my first show back from reInvent, back in my home office, my little decked out closet with a bunch of guitars that I'd rarely ever play. But I'm also joined by Farah for the first time ever. Farah, welcome.
Hey, thanks. It's super excited to be here. It's also my first stream after reInvent, and I'm feeling a little bad about my setup. It looks super professional right now with the on air in the back. I'm feeling like I might need to step up my game
You know,
next year.
it's just a little TV magic. That's all it is. I just ripped off some closet doors, put some soundproofing panels up, hung a few things, and then used a tool called OBS to frame it in nicely so it looks a lot cooler than it actually is.
Yeah,
But in
just rip
fact,
things
really,
off the wall. Yeah, just rip things off the wall, put up some stuff, easy.
yeah, I'm working on a more official stream studio. But for now, this is what I got. Hey, we want to welcome everybody to the chat. If you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. I know we'd like to especially welcome our Canadian friends and our British friends from the UK. We've got some hero. If you happen to click on the hero and see us there, welcome to the show. We're going to get into some cool AWS stuff in just a minute. But Farah, how should we kick off this show today? What are we talking? We're getting ready for Christmas. It's snowing where I'm at. Got a ton of snow. What about where you're at?
No snow in Portland right now. I mean, I grew up in the snow, but it's the last show before Christmas. What are you hoping Santa brings you this year, Todd?
Some like uninterrupted sleep mostly.
Sleep is good. I'm looking forward to that as well.
No,
Do you
I always
remember what
look
you
forward.
wanted?
What I
I'd say,
wanted.
do you remember what you wanted as a kid? Like as a kid, I always wanted like a Teddy Ruxpin. I needed somebody to talk to sometimes.
Yeah, I don't remember what I wanted. I have a hard time remembering that far back, but I do have a vague memory of when I was a kid. We got these Ghostbuster backpacks with like a little gun. It had a little foam piece that, as you like spun the thing, a little foam piece. I don't know. Ghostbusters was a big thing in the '90s.
Who are you gonna call?
That's right. Hey, but this is not our only show, Fair. We've got other shows for AWS on air. Is that right? Like, what are some of the other shows that we have for AWS on air?
See, Under the Hood with Art is like that's a decent one. I've been on that show with him a couple times.
Cool.
I mean, but this is actually my favorite show,
You like
the
the
Friday
Friday?
show. Is my
This is well, we call it the flagship show. This is the premiere show. Only the best hosts on this show. At least that's what they told me when I
obviously,
started.
obviously.
No, but we've also got AWS on Air Sports. That's one I like to tune in. Our producer Nick hosts that show every other week or so, and talks esports and some of the next gen stats and things that some of our professional leagues are using here in the States. And then we've got Startups with Jillian. We go over some startup content. We've got Game Day, Step Up Your Game Day with AM. So we've got great content all throughout the week. We're going to continue that. I don't know if this is the last stream for the year, but we're definitely going to continue that into 2025. But today, we got some more Amazon Q coolness to premiere. Fair, have you used Amazon Q yet?
I have used Amazon Q. I have. It's been super helpful, like some of the business applications, but also just trying to understand a little bit more about, some of our new tools and how to use them. It's been a fun product to test out.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's starting to pop up and everywhere. We've got a couple different varieties of Amazon Q. I've recently started using it in my developer IDE and JetBrains IDE. I pop up a little soon and started asking questions. Starting to get familiar with the command, so that's really cool. But we also start to embed it in other services here at AWS, and I think that's what we're going to talk about today: how Amazon Q is being embedded in some of our other services. So I think if we're ready, we should bring on our first guest. How about that?
I always love to bring on guests. I'm excited to see who
Let's
we're
do it.
talking
Let's
to today.
let's get right into it. Roll the tape. Hey, Stuart, welcome to the stream. You are live, featured in Canada and the UK. Say hello to our Canadian friends.
Hey, friends, glad to be here.
Hey, Stuart, why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll get into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Stuart Norwood. I'm a principal product manager for AWS Systems Manager. So we have teams all over the globe, primarily out of Seattle, HQ2 in Virginia, and Berlin. So we have some friends over in the European time zone as well on our team. So glad to be here and thank you everybody for tuning in.
Oh, hey, thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. For the folks that don't know what AWS Systems Manager does, maybe you could share like a couple sentences about what that accomplishes for people.
Sure. Yeah. So Systems Manager is a wonderful toolbox of tools to help customers do a variety of things to their nodes. It could be to connect to one of their instances via our session manager, to run a automation for using our run command tool. We also have a patch manager tool that helps customers keep their uh, instances up to the right OS patch level. So we have a lot of great tools for customers to use. And so one of our focuses for this year and with this launch that we're going to talk about here in a minute is how do we make this a little easier for customers to use all of these tools in more of a task-based um, jobs to be done. Like I want to get a view of all of my nodes, or I want to make sure all of my nodes actually have the systems manager agent on it. And those used to be pretty tough jobs to do, time consuming and a lot of steps. And so we wanted to make it easier for customers to get some of those foundational jobs done so they can utilize systems manager for its functionality.
Yeah, that's something I had to look up. I've used system managers a few times before, but help me understand this. So, like before, typically in a systems manager configuration, you install an agent on maybe an EC2, and that makes systems manager aware of that EC2, and then you can do some
Exactly.
management functionality through systems. And I think we're talking about so when we talk about managed nodes, we talk about EC2 instances or compute resources that have that agent on it, and then we're also talking about unmanaged resources where it may not have that agent on it. Is that close?
That's correct, but not just EC2 instances. Like we're talking
Okay.
your customers on-premise instances or multi-cloud environments, so they can get a true view of their entire fleet that is managed. But you are correct that when we say manage, we mean you have a healthy systems manager agent heart beating back to us.
Okay. Okay.
And
So and go ahead.
no, you were you were talking about the exact same thing I was going to say. Like that's foundational, right?
Hmm.
Systems manager can't do anything if we don't know about the instances. So having that systems manager agent there is step one in taking advantage of some of our capabilities through that we have available on systems manager.
Okay, so that's about as far as my knowledge extends on Systems Manager. But I want to ask our audience members, we are live. If you have a question about Systems Manager, you got an expert live here on AWS On Air. If you've used Systems Manager, we want to know that as well. And let's talk it out here live on the stream. So, Stuart, what are we launching today? And let's get into what we built and maybe start from the beginning. Why did we build this?
Right. So our goal was to help customers manage their nodes anywhere at scale. And I've heard some of our distinguished engineers say everything breaks with scale. So if you want to manage a couple nodes here and there, super easy. But if we really wanted to achieve our goal of managing nodes anywhere, we had to give customers the functionality to make that possible. So with our launch that we did right before reInvent, we upgraded the systems manager experience so customers can get a cross account and cross region view of their managed nodes. And as some customers have seen, like a lot of things at Amazon work super well, single account, single region. It's very difficult to get that cross account, cross region view, but that was something that customers kept coming back to us asking for, because it's super time consuming to go into every account and region combination if you're, a global organization that has accounts across dozens of regions. And believe me, AWS keeps launching new regions. So the factorial of combinations just keeps growing. So the scale at which customers are using Systems Manager was almost too much to help them, give them instructions and manually go make sure that all of these instances or nodes were managed across, as we mentioned, EC2, other cloud providers, or on their on-premise server farm.
So I think you asked one of our first questions. We have a question from JibJab06. Can you get a multi-cloud view too?
Exactly. So yes, we can. So our agent, we can install in other clouds. So you will have a view not only of just your AWS EC2 instances, but other cloud providers. You can also do, IoT, Greengrass devices, containers. We really want to manage anything with a CPU is kind of our goal here.
Oh, I
And
like
with the
that. Farrah, what you
visibility,
got?
I was curious, like with the visibility, does it allow you to, to like diagnose and remediate any issues?
Yes. So the visibility provides you, instance level metadata of what that instance is, the OS that it's running, the agent version that it is, where that instance is from account region perspective. It also helps you diagnose and remediate any issues with an SSM agent, and that's actually what I have ready to show the audience. If we're ready to flip over to that, I can run through that. It's a pretty cool little demo we got going here.
That's what we're here for. We want to show the people. We don't just to tell the people. We want to show the people how this stuff works. So let's bring up your screen.
Yeah, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, how much is a demo worth, right?
Well, it depends on if it works.
That's what I was gonna say. Like it depends.
Yeah. So let's run through some stuff here so we get.
Stuart, let's orient our viewers. Where are we at? We're logged into the console. We've navigated to the AWS Systems Manager service, which is a service. There's a service dashboard in our console. So I'm seeing some new stuff on the left-hand side here.
Exactly. So all the tools that System Manager have that you've come to know and love are still here on the side, but we've layered a new experience on top. So you're right. I'm in the console. I'm in US East 1, and I'm in a delegated administrator account. So I have views across managed and unmanaged nodes of my entire organization that I have onboarded. This is a small organization for demo standpoints, but all of these are EC2 instances. Here's where you would see other cloud or on-premise. I see that I have 161 managed nodes, healthy SSM agent heart beating, 34 unmanaged. We'll want to get into that. But let me just take you through like a common use case that a delegated administrator might want to use this new Systems Manager for. So I scroll down and I see my managed nodes by operating system. Say I look at Microsoft Windows Server 2016 and I say, we should probably update that, right? 2016 is a little old. I have an edict to do that. Well, previously I had to go into each account and region combination and hunt for these instances. Here, I have them heartbeating to SSM. I can just go ahead and click into these, and it takes me to my Explore Nodes page where I get all of my nodes that are running this operating system. And I can easily export here and send to them my account owners. You can see that this is across multiple accounts. All of these are in a different region, US East 2. So I have that cross-region, cross-account view. Now, here we have 37 instances that we want to update. I can, download a report, JSON, CSV, name it. But I do remember having my unmanaged nodes. Like some of these 34 could be running that 2016 OS. So I want to make sure all of my nodes are managed before I actually send this out to folks. So I'm going to run through some different accounts here. I'm navigating to a member account that will allow us to dive into some of these systems manager. I will say you can do all of this from the delegated administrator, but I'm going to run this demo like a Julia Child's baking show where we we show steps and then we'll go from there.
It's kind of easy. It's like baking with an easy bake oven, right? With just a few simple ingredients, we're going to pop out something nice. And almost like, you know what I was kind of thinking of? It's almost like the Barbie dream house of demos here. We've got lots of different rooms. We're going to jump from room to room, but our systems manager is that one big latch that opens everything up. We can see inside each room here. So we're now in a separate account in a different role. We're logged into the systems manager and we're seeing something, a different view. So a different room of the dream house. Got it.
Different region, and I drill down into my unmanaged nodes. I see that I know that I have unmanaged nodes, so I should run a diagnosis on these nodes to see what is causing them to be unmanaged. And from here, I can actually schedule a recurring diagnosis every day, every week, specific time, just to make sure I have that operational health. So I can go ahead and execute this, but as you say, easy bake oven. Or I had the creepy crawlers oven, if you remember that.
Oh yeah. Some
separate.
gooey, some...
Yeah, exactly. Gooey little like scorpions and caterpillars and stuff.
Yeah.
So here in my other systems manager account, exit out of these old ones, make sure we're signed in here. Okay, here we go. I was thinking there for a second. These are just for audience sake, like these are accounts are set up the exact same way. So I have, after I click that diagnose, I see that I actually do have an unmanaged EC2 instance issue. I can look into the diagnosis report. It can download all of the instances, export to S3. I can look at the recommendations and click run books off of these. So here's a manual one. I also have automated run books that we can use. And let me show you another easy bake oven transition into my final account here.
Hey, I'm being told that there's also a Ken's Dream House. I wasn't aware of that. So now we're not totally jumping ship to a different house here, but I'm trying to put this all together. So we've got one delegated account. That's sort of our main administrative, gives me view into all of my sub accounts. And you're going to different accounts and still using systems manager to diagnose. And we can do that all from the main account, but there's no issues with kind of crossfire here, right? If I initiate one diagnosis from one account is from the admin account, is that going to have some issues with if I'm running that also in the sub accounts?
No issues with crossfire. The delegated administrator will be able to see the issues that were diagnosed and remediated locally, or they can do it from that central account. Here we show the local view. Just for demo purposes, it's actually a lot easier to do this centrally because that's what customers have asked for, right? It would be more time consuming to go into each of these individual accounts and see, run this in each single account. But now we see those nodes that we looked at earlier are all managed, and we can go into our remediation history, view our executions. These are from prior. So we had our diagnosis and our remediation. We can look at our remediation, like the execution steps. We can look at all the outputs, the runbook name that was run on the customer's behalf to help this become managed. And so it's a really cool tool to help customers kind of get that cross-account, cross-region view. And I can go back to the DA because that's the most powerful, DA, Delegate Administrator, powerful, and show you a little more about kind of what you can do. We can touch on that Amazon Q integration as well, which we're super excited about because customers can pop in to here and use our the Q widget to just ask, plain questions of show me all of my Windows OS nodes, and it'll go into effectively this view of my Explore nodes where I can group by node type, operating system, agent version, and it'll do all the pre-filtering for me. And I can see if I asked, like, show me all the Linux running and the different agent versions, Q can intuitively know this is the 51 instances that I've been searching for. Makes my life a lot easier.
Yeah, I
Super
think I get it
awesome.
now.
Like,
So go ahead, Farah.
no, go. No, I'm just curious. I mean, with like this, with like these new features, I mean, it seems like it, we're acting like care bears, and removing that, undifferentiated heavy lifting from our customers. Are there any pricing changes, with this?
Well, tough to say, but it's free. So AWS Systems Manager, this new experience, customers can use for free. If you did notice here in some of the diagnose and remediate steps, we do give customers a little banner here on pricing information. We do kick off some automations, and automations are priced today. No pricing changes to how to automation, but it does kick off some automations on behalf of the customers so they can see costs incurred because of that. But no pricing changes to our existing functionality. It's just that as I'm taking these tools here, like our automation, right, and we're pulling it up into like centralized node management for customers. So it makes it a lot easier instead of having to go into each of these tools to effectively get a view of their issues that they're facing when trying to connect the SSM agent. We just do it on their behalf.
Okay, yeah. So we've got some the chat's starting to come alive here. We've got some questions coming in. We got just a few minutes, but I just kind of want to bring this home. So we with Systems Manager, we can manage our compute resources, and you're saying now we can do this manage on premise. We can manage a multi-cloud. We can even cross account, cross region. So like as you start to grow on AWS, you start to compute resources may start popping up in different accounts, which become really difficult to manage. It's kind of like keeping a Tamagotchi alive. You really like have to feed it and pay attention and do all this stuff. But we want to make it easier. So we've centralized some of these resources. We've integrated Amazon Q, and we've offered up some natural language querying of our systems at scale. So now we can start to see these things in a consolidated view, diagnose and remediate issues in a consolidated view. And one of the questions that we have coming in is this available for Amplify? Now, Amplify is a service that we use for developing in the cloud. So presumably, if that Amplify project is managing some compute resources, those compute resources would funnel up to this systems manager view. Am I missing anything there, Stuart?
I would presume so as well. I haven't gotten that question directly, but if we're managing compute resources with the SSM agent, this would show our Amplify resources here.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay, so we've got just a couple of minutes. Where should our audience go next if they want to learn more about AWS Systems Manager or some of the new features?
Yeah, the best part is like this is in the same console that customers have been using for AWS Systems Manager, so they can navigate to the AWS Systems Manager console. They can find us on the AWS marketing websites. We're AWS Systems Manager. We have our benefits and everything on the console homepage. It can show use cases. Would love for customers to get some eyes on this to see if maybe their use case fits into some of the products that we have for them, and see if Systems Manager is the right fit for them.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Stuart. Hey, great work on the launch, and we'll see you next time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Yeah, likewise. AWS, always trying to make it easier here at AWS, and AWS Systems Manager is one of those services that does it.
It does. It's transforming the way we work.
That's cool. So, Farah, what should we tell folks about our survey? You want to tell folks about the survey?
Yeah, we have a survey. We're hoping you will go take it, check it out. And if there's any content you'd like to see, let us know how we're doing. Obviously, make sure that you say how well this one has gone today. I feel like Todd's kind of wrapped things up. He's like He-Man, just making sure we cover everything. But yes, check out the survey. Let us know how we're doing, and tell us what you'd like to see next year.
Tell us what you want for Christmas, or what you wanted for Christmas, and maybe we can get it on the show. No, that's not how this works. Anyway, we've got some more stuff. We're going to keep rolling on the show here. We've got let's hear this next segment. I actually learned for the first time at reInvent this year something called the AWS Education Equity Initiative, and I think we're going to learn some more now. Should we roll it?
Roll the tape.
Roll the tape.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on air. My name is Fiona McCann. I am a solutions architect at Amazon Web Services. You're tuning in at reInvent, and we're here with Adrian. Adrian, how are you doing today?
Hey, Fiona, I'm doing great. Hopefully you're still hanging in there like the rest of us, trying to just make it to the next session, make it to the next day. When I'm not running around Vegas, I am a partner architect here at AWS and help partners do the transformation thing, which is kind of part and parcel to what we're all trying to do a little bit day by day, isn't it?
That's fair. It's very true. I actually work with nonprofit organizations. Those are my customers at AWS. So I'm excited to hear what we're going to be chatting about today. It looks like we'll be learning about something that nonprofits might be pretty interested in.
Yeah, definitely. When I heard about this, it really piqued my interest. I do a lot of work with K-12 schools, lots of career days, lots of helping get the word out about tech and how it can help empower you and effectively give you the opportunity to seize up on your life and potentially change your station and give you opportunity that you may not have had before. You ready to bring on our guests?
I think it's time. Let's do it. Anya, hello. Welcome on air. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. Doing well, Fiona. It's good to be here.
Lovely. Well, would you mind just introducing yourself to everyone who's here in the chat?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Anya Niaz, and I am the Global Education Equity Leader here at Amazon Web Services. And similar to Adrian, when I'm not running around sessions in my role, I am really trying to figure out how do we get access to our AWS cloud computing and AI technology for organizations that need it to build learning solutions for most of the underserved and underrepresented communities around the world.
That's awesome. That definitely resonates with me as probably being defined as underserved and underrepresented at some point in chat. If you fall in this bucket or you know somebody that may, you might want to pay attention. Let us know where you're listening into, or if you're running around, find us. Love to talk to you about this, but please continue.
Awesome. Yes. So specifically in the role that I'm in and the team that I'm a part of, we're really dedicated to democratizing access to AWS powered tech. Everything increasingly becomes tech driven. And with that, we recognize that there is an initial cost that comes up, especially for nonprofits, Fiona, that you were mentioning, and similar organizations like smaller, medium ed techs, as well as some government institutions. And they're really trying to create and innovate with technology. And to do that, they need access. So my team really focuses on creating and curating that access and helping build capacity of such organizations. So not only do they use AWS powered tech, but they do it to make a difference at the community and society level.
It sounds like a really important initiative. I'm excited to see what it looks like in action. Would you mind giving us a peek behind the scenes?
Yes, absolutely. So the AWS Education Equity Initiative, before we get into the demo, is specifically about what I was mentioning earlier around this clear mission of democratizing access to AWS cloud computing and AI, especially for organizations that want to build learning solutions for underserved and underrepresented learners. And this can really look like nonprofits, smaller, medium ed techs, governments that want to, let's say, help teachers save time, help reduce the amount of time they might be spending on assessing student projects. It helps accelerate access for learners that might otherwise not be in school. So they now suddenly have an opportunity to go online or use an app or use a browser to access some sort of learning that they couldn't do otherwise. Similarly, it's really about thinking about educators, learners, especially students, parents, as well as even caregivers, all of these critical education stakeholders that want learners to succeed in getting access to and being able to maintain and succeed in a job in today's tech-driven world. So that really is the mission behind the AWS Education Equity Initiative.
That sounds awesome, Anya. I'd love to jump into the demo.
Great, yeah, let's do it. Let's jump right in. So Code.org is a nonprofit, and I'm going to be showing you a demo of being able to use their dashboard as an educator to save time on grading student coding projects. Coding projects are such an exciting and sort of a really compulsory part of computer science education so far, so I think it's going to make for a really cool and fun example.
Can I use it to correct my code? That's $1 million question because I'm a terrible programmer.
It's going to be for students that are signed up for code.org. So if you're so inclined, you could sign up as a student and then submit your code, and then it would get evaluated. But yes, so for educators that are reviewing students' projects, there's going to be an AI assistant tool I'm going to get into. But before I do that, I just want to quickly share what code.org is. So Code.org is a global nonprofit that is committed to making computer science education accessible and possible for learners from K through 12. So that's kindergarten through high school. They're in about 180 countries. That's true, 180 different countries. They're reaching 92 million students. They're reaching about 2.7 million teachers. And they were really thinking long and hard about how do we make the lives of educators better and easier? You know, that's $1 million question, comes up a lot. And as a former teacher, I'm definitely inspired by that question. So one of the ways in which they are operating is they're leveraging Amazon Bedrock to create an AI teaching assistant tool. And that's what I'm going to get into now and help us see how exactly does the educator save so much time instead of manually grading coding projects to leveraging AI to do that. So as an educator, you would typically log in and land on this homepage, which says my dashboard on it. You'd scroll down to find where the classes that you're teaching are. So as you can see right here, it says Anya CSD section. So imagine that's the class that me as an educator I'm teaching. And
animations and games.
Yes, interactive animations and games. So we would get right into that one. I would click. On this page as an educator, what you would see is what's the progress that all my students are making on the particular course that I'm teaching. So as you can see on the left-hand side, it's all the different, these are made up names for now, but the projects are very real. So here, as you can see, there are student names on the left, and then on the right-hand side, all the different lessons and levels of the class on interactive animations and games. Typically in the first levels, initial levels, the students are really learning how to create like static images, right? And they move slowly towards making their characters jump, like overcome obstacles, and basically being able to add a level of interactivity and animation to their coding projects. Mm-hmm. So we're going to take a look at, let's say, lesson number 21, and let's pick a student. Let's look at what Anna has been up to. When you click on that, it automatically opens up a separate page, which will let me dive deeper into the student project. As you can see on this page, there's a lot of fun stuff happening. The good part is that this entire section, In fact, let's do it now. I can view this both as a teacher and as a student. If I'm viewing it as a student, let's take a second, it's going to show where I'm actually typing out the code. This code is all about building a game, and in the game, as a student, I am to come up with a character that can overcome some sort of a conflict or obstacle, and then I would basically get points for every time that I overcome that obstacle. So to develop that game, students were asked to type out code. So that's the code that you can see all over here. As a teacher, I can then basically view the same code that the students put, but guess what? I can now click on this bot which says TA. That is the teaching assistant, and that's what we're going to focus on.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, one of the key ways in which Code.org is trying to really empower and enable educators is to think about how do you enable them to best use their time. They found that on average in a given lesson, every middle school teacher was, well, on average, they were spending about 5 hours creating 20 of their students' projects, coding projects. So they got to thinking, how do we save time? And that's when they started to really leverage AI and Amazon Bedrock.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get right into it. Let's look at an example. So I'm going to select a student, Anna. Let's look at Anna now. Cool. So before I even get into this, again, I'm going to leverage my background as an educator and really bring up something really cool here, which is the way that they're leveraging AI in their teaching assistant tool is as an enabler and as a helper and as a support to teachers. It is not to replace them. And go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, that's a super important thing to jump in on. I've got a lot of friends that are educators, mostly in K-12, and they lament, they have the idea of having tech as a replacement as opposed to an augment. It's still something that's very difficult for them to understand. Would love to hear anything that you might have, to go deeper into that point, because more and more we see the tech everywhere, we hear the tech everywhere, but not a lot of people actually know what to do with it. And it sounds like a really good way here to give them the tech and give them access to it without giving that almost like an overarching sense of dread of having to use the tech.
You articulated that dread really, really well, Adrian. I think this is just one of the best examples that really can put that dread and that fear to rest. So the way in which Code is using AI here is to come up with qualitative assessments. So the AI applies a rubric qualitatively. In the end, the AI has come up with, and I'm just going to demo it to you. Ignore the first question, because the first one of the 7, so these are imagine that there are 7 major parts of the coding game that the student has submitted. And for each of those 7 parts, there's a rubric that has been applied, except for the first part, because this is where the teacher gets to come in and actually check the coding project and add their own grading.
So it's human in the loop there.
It's absolutely human in the loop, very much, and it's going to get expanded even more. Now let's look at question number 2, part number 2, all the way to 3, 4. You can see here 5, 6, 7. You can see it says uses AI, right? Now, how did it actually use AI? There is a rubric at the back end. So Code.org got together with educators, with prompt engineers, as well as product managers, and use a standards-based rubric, which basically means they took the curriculum for a particular grade level for computer science for coding. And that is what the AI picks up on and then applies to what the student submitted. So on the game that the student, let's say Anna, submitted, right? For program sequence, AI is saying that their evaluation is that Anna demonstrates extensive evidence of sequencing in the program. So AI isn't telling the teacher this is right or wrong. It's actually giving them evidence of, hey, Anna scored extensive here, and here is the evidence that's linked. So the AI provides the actual points of line of code that the student submitted, which is why the rubric that the AI used said Anna's doing really well on program sequence.
Yeah.
So
as opposed to a teacher having to ask a friend, shameless plug to the friend that does this to me. Hey, does this look right? Being able to do it qualitatively and quantitatively, this is huge. This is helpful for drawing down that instruction point with the student to say, hey, look, here's some examples where you went above and beyond, and here's some examples where we could do a little bit of work. It's almost like customizing that advice and guidance per student, per educator, with the tooling in the back end, giving them the power to do it. This is pretty awesome.
Absolutely. How is AWS getting involved with this, Anya?
Absolutely. Great question. And Adrian, I love how you articulated that. It's very much about being a friend to the educator, being a support for the educator. So Fiona, to your question, this AI teaching assistant has been built leveraging Amazon Bedrock. So it's our large language models access that's provided through Bedrock that's being used to come up with this bot. And interestingly enough, even these questions that get answered here is AI accurate. That allows the educator again to express agency and again to express decision making. That feedback goes to the back end and they get to update the data and the prompt that's going into the LLM, again being accessed through Amazon Bedrock.
That's awesome. And so this is built on, I'm assuming, some sort of knowledge base as well that has coding specific background information for the chatbot to use.
Can you elaborate on that more by knowledge system?
So with using Bedrock, I'm sure there's also some sort of retrieval augmented generation that's kind of built in there that has coding specific information for this chatbot to interact with.
Yes, so they're primarily through Bedrock using Claude to gain that access to the LLM, and they've definitely built on RAG for the coding. Yes.
That's awesome.
A lot more accurate than asking your friend. So if I get to retire from answering these questions, that's way better for my sanity and personal time.
Yeah, my mom used to be an elementary school teacher, and I think she doesn't know too much about programming and would definitely love to have an assistant like this.
Absolutely.
Well, that's definitely music to my ears and code.org's, because the commitment to educator agency, it's so obvious here, isn't it? And as you're moving along each question, it's again, how well did Anna demonstrate control conditionals? Again, it says extensive, but why? And then you see the exact code that the students submitted. So at every step of the way of this evaluation that's being applied by the AI assessment, the teacher gets to be the decider. The teacher gets to agree or disagree. Is AI accurate, not accurate? So again, these are all suggestions for assessment. In some parts, in some of the questions, the AI will actually give the student 2 scores, as you can see here, convincing and extensive. And again, I love that it will link it to the actual code that the student submitted, because in this, the teacher can click right in and be able to look at the code and make a decision for themselves.
This is pretty snazzy, I gotta say.
Right?
Yeah, it's not absolute. It's like, hey, by the way, it could go either way. Go, as Fiona eloquently put, a human in the loop. Go investigate and make the judgment call. We're recommending, here's where we focus.
Yeah, it helps to build trust in AI systems too when you have that kind of citation. So you can look and see, where is this answer actually coming from? Can I validate it? Can I verify that it's actually correct?
Yep. And that's it. Every step of the way, the human in the loop elevates agency, which again, as a former teacher, and Fiona, maybe this resonates with you, having seen your mom in this role, it's really about how is the teacher empowered to be the leader of the classroom, the leader of the students, being able to make decisions because the teacher is so close to the student's learner journey. And I really love also by leveraging this AI teaching assistant, there's also an ability for the educator to provide direct feedback to the student. And you can do that for every area that's been assessed of the coding game. And eventually, if the educator/teacher feels, listen, I think the student needs to keep working on this coding game, this coding project that they've submitted, you can click on that at the bottom left. Or if you're happy with the assessment, you submit it directly to the student.
That's awesome. So how can we get people involved in this? Where should people turn to figure out how to participate?
Great question. So that would definitely be, there's two ways. One is, of course, if you're interested in actually getting access to code.org's curriculum for K through high school, K through 12, then it would be the code.org website. But if you're looking to learn more, then I would say stay tuned as we come up and we publish more of our own blogs on the AI teaching assistant.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, Anya. I'm going to point every educator I know at this to get myself out of the loop. I like helping people, but I am a terrible programmer, and everybody will back me on that. So thankful for you getting to spend some time with us, and look forward to doing this again with you here in the future.
Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure, and I'm really excited to have organizations learn about and apply to the AWS Education Equity Initiative. This is one of the customer examples that we have, and we look forward to supporting many, many more.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Fiona.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Anup Shivadas, joining the AWS OnAir team to discuss this exciting launch of the new Systems Manager experience. I am one of the hosts for AWS Repost Live, the companion live stream for repost.aws, where we answer questions, dive deep into their use cases from the AWS Repost community. If you haven't yet, head over to repost.aws, sign up using your AWS account ID or builder ID, and get started. As you can see in the screen right here, there are a lot of goodness when it comes to Repost. You can ask questions, you can get answers from different AWS experts around your questions about various services. There is Knowledge Center articles where you can get very prescriptive recommendation on your particular scenario or certain services and situations and solutions architecture, etc. So there's a lot of Knowledge Center articles, and then again, pretty common articles is also available out there where people will write about a particular scenario, what they see in the field, etc. So there is a lot of goodness when it comes to Repost as well. So again, highly recommend you to sign up, get started with your AWS account ID or builder ID. All right, joining us back is Stuart. Welcome back on the show again. Thanks for staying through the show. Again, remind the audience who you are. What do you do, Stuart?
Hey, Anoop. Thanks for having me back. I am a principal product manager on the AWS Systems Manager team. So we're very excited about our new launch and happy to chat with you about it.
Yeah, so amazing launch. Super excited about the new experience of System Manager, which is super useful for our customers for sure. Before we begin the chat, let us know where you are joining us from today. Please ask questions about Systems Manager, its integration with Amazon Q, which is again an exciting addition for Systems Manager. We will answer as many questions as possible throughout the segment what we hear. But again, we'll jump in right away. So again, it's a very short segment which we have today. So we'll jump in right away. So if you look at our first question, Stuart, on Repost, again, you might be seeing this question on your screen. So the question is coming from Mark. He is using AWS Repost and asking these questions around how do you enable Systems Manager for organization-wide use, right? I love this question. I'm going to upvote this question for sure. It's very useful for a lot of customers and the community as well. So Stuart, there is different answers which is available here, provided by our experts from AWS. Some of them are recommending hey, and the question is about organization-wide use, and the user here, Mark, is asking whether should they create a dedicated delegated administrator, all those nuances around that, right? And some answers are recommending hey, follow the best practices around AWS organization. And if you look at the recent answer, which is exciting because one of the user told about the new Systems Manager experience, right? So Stuart, from your perspective, how the new experience is helping customers set up Systems Manager for an org-wide use, right? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And very happy to see somebody has already posted that there. So yeah, the new Systems Manager allows for an org-wide cross-account, cross-region view of an organization's entire fleet of nodes, whether that's on EC2, on-premise, or in multi-cloud environments. And so the onboarding process is very simple. We have a management account whose sole job is to appoint a delegated administrator. And that delegated administrator on organization through a one-click onboarding. It'll take a couple minutes, and then you'll get a view of your entire organization, all the accounts within there across all the regions.
Yeah, that's exciting. So that delegated administrator is a recommended approach, right? That's what you're kind of mentioning. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that the whole new experience is going to be really seamless for users from that delegated administrator account and perspective around that as well. I think piggybacking on that same question, I think we have again another question from one of the users on repost talking about how to enable systems manager for multi-account and multi-region, right? I think you already touched on this, but again, the whole multi-account, multi-region with the organization integration and a delegated administrator, that's the same thing, right? Do you want to touch on that as well a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the one nuance here is like the delegated administrator will have a home region where they view all of their information, but that's just effectively an aggregation region.
Yeah.
And but it still allows that delegated administrator to see their managed nodes across all accounts in all regions that are onboarded within that organization. So again, very simple. We wanted customers to not spend too much time trying to get this view because as we have heard, their fleets can just continue to grow and grow.
Totally.
It was super important for them.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I'm really excited about the whole new experience, which makes life much more easier as well, right? We are going to, again, as I said, since this is a very short segment, we are going to switch gears and talk a little more about a knowledge center article. And I saw this article today, and it was pretty interesting as well. And that's where you see the power of repost, right? You can ask questions, you can refer to articles. And in this specific articles, which was published by one of our AWS officials, it's talking about troubleshooting managed node issues in Systems Manager with SAW. SAW stands for AWS Support Automation Workflow, right? And it's a very detailed article, as you can see here. It goes very deep into some of the integrations with Slack and the event bridge integrations and step functions, whatnot. Very detailed article. But Stuart, the question for you specifically is around, with the new experience for Systems Manager, right? Is SAW still needed, or I know you mentioned a little bit earlier around like the integration with Q to troubleshoot certain things, etc. Can you walk through how this changed with the new experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought this article up because it kind of shows the level of effort required by customers to troubleshoot managed nodes. Like it's a long, detailed article, and I actually counted the steps in there, and it lists 20 steps, and one of those steps is go fix issues. So you never really know how many clicks that's going to take. But yeah, so the great thing about the new Systems Manager experience is that in order to manage your instances, whether that's connect via terminal session through Session Manager, patch through our Patch Manager, they have to be managed by the SSM agent. And customers came to us, saying it's hard to manage all of these issues, especially at scale. So with our new diagnose and remediate function in Systems Manager, customers can just click. If they see they have unmanaged instances, it can be deployment issues or agent issues, and we'll diagnose the issue for you. Common issues are like VPC configuration, DNS configurations, security group configurations. And so we help customers identify those issues across those common things that make the agent not connect to systems manager. And so, and once we diagnose, we also give customers automation run books that they can, within the systems manager console, just go ahead and click execute run book, and we will go ahead and fix as many issues with the SSM agent as we're able to.
Got it. Yeah. So it takes care of that. That runbooks will solve things on behalf of the users. The whole systems manager new experience will orchestrate the whole execution of runbooks, etc. It seems pretty seamless, is what you're pretty much mentioning here. That's pretty exciting. In the interest of time, and again, since the short segment, we'll take one more question before we wrap up. And again, this question, I think it's pretty, aligned to what you mentioned about agents and whatnot, right? So the question again from Alex here, which got a lot of views as well on repost, is talking about system manager isn't working with my EC2, right? And if you look at the answers, a couple of them are like, hey, do you have the SSM agent installed, right? Etc. But with the new experience, I think the whole troubleshooting experience is going to be simplified, right? Do you want to touch a little more on that as well, Stuart?
Exactly. Like that's all of these answers, they point to, oh, here's what you could do. Here's what may be the problem.
Yeah.
But customers really have to do a lot of investigations on their own behalf. And imagine if you have 1,000 accounts across 10 regions.
Yeah,
it's very difficult if you have to go into each account region combination. And so what we do is we give that central visibility for customers. So we make it super easy for customers and
awesome.
Give them back their most valuable resource, which is, of course, their time.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And I'm super excited about trying the new experience as well. I wanted to talk to customers about it. Very excited about it. Thank you so much for your questions. The repost community, we love every questions. Please keep asking questions. We will link the recording of this show in the comments of repost so that you can review it later and keep asking questions, right? If you have more questions on Systems Manager, let us know. We'll be happy to drive those questions home in the next segment as well. Thank you, Stuart, for being on the show, giving a demo in the previous segment. Love the new experience of Systems Manager. Again, if you haven't done it yet, head over to repos.aws, sign up using your AWS account ID or builder ID. You have choices there, and explore all the goodness, raise questions and articles and a lot of goodness there. While you are there, also please follow the repost tag so that you will get up-to-date info of the upcoming shows and whatnot. Until next time, happy building.
Hello, welcome back to the feed. I'm Todd Fortier. I'm joined by Farah. Farah, how you feeling so far? That's a cool segment. I like that we're doing this repost stuff.
Me too. I haven't used it as much as I should, but it's kind of like, Trivial Pursuit, where everybody kind of comes in and shares questions, shares knowledge and answers questions, and super fun there.
Yeah, it's so key because when I was learning to develop, which was a long time ago, I was sort of self-taught programmer. I relied heavily on forums like this to get answers and in the community to answer questions, or if I was just looking for something, I could see that somebody else answered and relied on that expertise. So Repost is a super helpful resource to get AWS specific expertise. And I love that we're having him on the show now to kind of dive deep into those questions and make it relevant. So thanks to Anoop and Stuart for double clicking on AWS Systems Manager. Farah, I was just thinking, so if you don't know whether or not to bop it, twist it, pull it, spin it, you can ask that question on Repost and get an answer from an AWS expert. So, but Farah, I don't know if you can tell, I've been kind of battling a cold this week, and I'm just now starting to feel good. I'm getting my Celsius is starting to kick in. It's felt like I've had a Furby stuck in my throat all week, so I'm just starting to feel really good. It's Friday. We've had some questions from people in the chat about whether or not we're actually live, and I can assure you it is December 20th, 4 p.m. on the East Coast here in America. So we are live. I can welcome audience. Keep asking questions, and we're about to bring on another guest. For who we got coming up next?
I mean, I feel like everybody knows our next guest, I think.
Oh yeah, I think that this next guest needs no introduction. My favorite hot wing eating compadre here. Let's welcome to the show Jeff for news with Jeff.
Hey Todd, hey Farah, good to see you both.
Hey, Mr.
Yes,
Jeff,
good to
welcome
see
to
you
the
too.
stream. It's good to
Happy
see
to
you
be here.
again.
As always, it's always like this is like a great like cap at the end of the week. Like we have these really good weeks, and then you do something really fun, interactive, and always end the week on a high note.
That's right. And we've got Christmas just around the corner. It sounds like maybe you've got some family trickle in for the Christmas season. We got to see your granddaughter a little bit earlier. It's awesome to kind of see the kids jump in on camera. I often have to fend away a 18-month-old. He's starting to figure out doorknobs now, so I really have to like lock the door while I'm streaming.
It's good, but it's actually really good that the youngest generation sees us working, because what we do is so abstract compared to what like a couple generations ago did, where you could like watch someone like, I don't know, bake bread or be a blacksmith or build something. And so much of what we do is in our heads that anytime you can bring them in and say, oh, this is what work looks like. I think that's really helpful.
That's right. Or if you're like me, when I was a kid, my parents would be gone for part of the day, and you'd be like, okay, and then they just come home. And you're like, I guess they're off doing something, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm here home, and I'm looking at these screens, and then I'm trying to say, hey, you don't get to look at the screens. I get to look at the screens. But so trying to teach that this is a tool. There's so much to learn. I am grateful for it. I learned everything that I know about AWS by using things like Repost and listening to programs like this. So thanks for coming on, Jeff.
Yeah.
You got some news for us? You got some breaking announcements?
I totally do. Although I do have a quick question our audience can like try to get some answers to. So as I noticed or announced, I've wrapped up my time on the AWS news blog, and I'm going to be creating more blog content next year, but just not news. I'm really going back to building, and so I'm spending some time. I spent some time yesterday learning a new to me programming language after not really writing code for a while. There's one totally obvious language that would be appropriate. And so let's just see if the audience can guess what that might be. So let's see. Let's do a little bit of news. So the first is an awesome addition to AWS Backup. So AWS Backup isn't new. I think I first wrote about it in 2019. But as a quick recap, it makes it easy for our customers to create and manage backups of the AWS resources. It supports just a ton of different resources. EBS volumes, EC2 instances, all the stuff inside of a CloudFormation stack, FSx file systems, DynamoDB tables, a whole lot more stuff. And very, very coolly, it can also back up some on-prem resources, stuff like storage gateway volumes and VMware virtual machines. Really easy to use. You create a backup plan that has a schedule, a frequency, a backup window. You tell it which resources to back up. You either like click and pick the exact ones, or you can say any of the resources with specific tags. And then it just takes it from there. It gathers the snapshots and does all the resources. At the end of a backup, it kind of puts a nice wrapper and a stamp on them, calls it a recovery point, which you can pull in later. Like if you say, well, we just need to roll back everything to a certain level, you'd use that recovery point, which is a super awesome, powerful facility. All this has been around for a while. This is not new stuff. But what is new is there's now this cool feature called item level recovery that works on both EBS volumes and objects in S3 buckets. What you do is when you create your backup plan, you enable creation of an index that indexes all the items, either the files in your EBS volume or the objects in your S3 bucket. It creates that index. And if later you say, you know what, I really messed up badly and I deleted a file out of one of my EBS volumes, you no longer have to pull the entire thing back and try to figure out that file. you can actually create a, what do we call it? We call it a recovery job. And basically it does a search. So it searches through that index. You find the file, it tells you all the metadata, all the details. And you say, wow, I need that one back. I guess we scared Farah away.
Yeah, I think we got a glitch in the matrix here. I only see myself.
Oh, man.
There we go.
Someone pushed the wrong button on the Rock'em Sock'em robot. Okay, there we go. Okay, so rewinding a little bit. Where was I? Okay, I need to restore my own backup. Okay, all right, rewinding to a backup. Okay, so you can search your index, and you can then say, well, I need this file back or this object back. You recover it. It drops it into an S3 bucket for you. And so rather than having to bring back everything, you can be very specific and get the object or file or files that you need. There is a bit of a charge both for creating the index and for doing the searches. So you might not actually want to just create indexes by default, because I think we all know that most backups are there for the just in case that almost never happens. So what I would think about this is probably don't bother to create any indexes until you need them. Create it, get the stuff back, delete it, and you can optimize your costs in that way. So I think this is really, really cool. So it now means that backup actually knows what's inside of what's being backed up, as far as knowing the metadata, the file names and objects and so forth. So I think that's a pretty cool step forward. And we'll drop a link to the blog post in the comments.
Yeah, we've got a comment from Robert Tables. Robert Tables says it's like the time machine, Apple time machine, Mac time machine of the cloud, which I think is a really good analogy. Yeah, really good analogy. I don't know if people have used that, where you can kind of do these individual item backup recovery things. So that's a cool one.
Yeah, definitely like that. Yeah, Victor says S3 really popular. I think we said 400 trillion objects at reInvent. So yeah, that's a lot of objects.
Kind of popular.
Just a few.
Yeah, and nobody's guessed my programming language. It's definitely not Go. It's not RPG. That's even before my time. I mean, I'm pretty old, but yeah.
I've got a guess.
I have a guess too.
All right. Are you eligible? Okay, go for it.
I was gonna say Rust.
And Todd?
I was gonna go Rust as well.
You are both right. You're both right. Yeah.
Oh, Robert Python.
Yeah, the basics are really pretty straightforward. So having a good time, just installed it on my instance and opened up my trusty Emacs and kind of getting back into writing some code. And now I got to get into mutexes and references and synchronization and really, really fun stuff.
Yeah, nice. So Jeff, let's build something together. I've actually started learning a new language, more of a new syntax, Scala, because a lot of our launch announcements around reInvent, SageMaker Unified Studio, and all of these things heavily depend on Glue. So how do we get data into Glue? We can use a language called Scala, something I've been learning. So I'm right there in the learning camp with you. But yeah, let's go build something. I'm eager to.
Yeah, we should do a show about building stuff.
I like that. All right. Any more news for us, Jeff?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Okay. So whether you call them AMIs or AMIs, you've got your choice, despite what our good friend Corey Quinn always likes to say. But we know that AMIs are fundamental to AWS. And I actually first mentioned AMIs back in 2006 in my blog post that announced EC2. So long time ago. So I always think of the AMI as basically like the boot disk or the boot volume of your computer, your operating system, your apps, your configuration, all set up, ready to go to launch or even stamp out a whole bunch of EC2 instances all the way you want them. So what we've got is two really not gigantic features, but I think kind of quick features that give you more control of your AMIs. And this is actually really good because a lot of our customers, I think us as individuals will typically make an AMI and it'll be the one we have for a long time. But a lot of customers have basically a kind of a factory that stamps out AMI after AMI after AMI, after every system update or app update, or they'll maybe just build a fresh one for the day or the week. So they get a bunch of them, but then you have to be careful to make sure your devs and your production are actually running the ones you want. But you can't always just delete old ones because you might need to keep them around for history or compliance. So we have a new feature where you can actually disable individual AMIs so they don't appear in searches by default. You can't use them to run new EC2 instances. So, but if you disable it, then say, oops, we actually need that old one to do some kind of recovery or to step back into the old times, you can re-enable it. So I think that's a simple, cool, but really powerful feature to give customers more control. And the other one is there's this new feature for accounts where if you turn this on for an individual account, so typically you do this as part of a big complicated setup where you got an organization and org units and then accounts inside of those. You can actually put basically flag an account and say, I only want a specific set of owner accounts and owner aliases that own specific AMIs to be able to have their AMIs run in this account. So you can say, maybe within your whole org, you have this factory somewhere that's your AMI factory, so a group of devs building AMIs and testing them and kind of stamping them out as your gold AMIs, I guess you could say. So you could then say within our org or within our department or whatever, only AMIs from that team are allowed to be used in our organization or finer level. So you get that finer grained control to make sure that you're running the stuff that you want to. And there's actually also an audit mode where you can, I didn't have a chance to look at this in detail, but I think you kind of turn it on as a shadow and it won't block, but it'll tell you you're running one that would be disallowed if you had this feature if you turned the knob all the way to fully on. So simple and powerful, which I think is always a great combination. And let's see, one more cool thing. Okay, so let's see. We have launched the Stable Diffusion 3.5 large model in Bedrock. This is so we've got tons of models, and I think each of us kind of some people are really deep into text and some into agents. I actually really like text to image. Just this idea that you can say, make me an image with this stuff, and it just magically pops up and looks so legit and realistic. So Stable Diffusion 3.5 is advanced text to image. It's 8.1 billion parameters. Kind of really cool. It was trained on SageMaker Hyperpod. So it was trained within the AWS cloud. It generates really high quality 1 megapixel images from text descriptions. It has control over styles. It's got lots of diverse outputs. And it's got something called prompt adherence, where it tries especially hard to give you images that look like what you asked for. I was having some fun with some prompts earlier. Let me just spin these up. And in our chicken wing theme, some of my prompts were a developer eating spicy chicken wings in a room full of fire and spices. I did a sports fan eating spicy chicken wings, a sports broadcaster eating spicy chicken wings, and I did
floating.
I did a male sports broadcaster and a female developer both eating spicy chicken wings in a room full of fire and spices. So got all these really, really fun, interesting images. So this is available. It is now available in the Oregon region, and I believe we'll make it available in more regions as quickly as we can. Like all the Bedrock models, console, CLI, and API access. We'll drop a link into that blog post as well. And that is all I've got for today.
Can we just say that really quick that every single one of those people eating wings looks like the Corey Quinn, where he's always has when he takes smiles and all those photos, that's how they are. We're just
it'd be really worth experimenting with the prompts. Maybe eating tends to that eating in my prompt actually would tend to pick people with their mouths open. So
it's actually really crazy how much a prompt can really change, and once you get better at them, how it really can change the output from these models.
Oh, absolutely. It's so impressive and so thought-provoking but scary at the same time what you can do with all these amazing models and image generators.
Yeah, I think so. We've featured some image generation. We had a lot of fun with that. So we'll have to do another show in season 6 here to get some new image generation. See if we can get some maybe a developer eating some beanie babies or something. I don't know, something getting real wacky.
Man. Okay, Todd. When I was talking about AMIs, hold on, my microphone dropped.
We're gonna have it design the latest Barbie.
Okay. When I was talking about AMIs, I was going to mention beanie babies, and I totally forgot. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah,
they do kind of multiply like beanie babies.
That's right. Yeah, I love that announcement. That always making it simpler for folks to manage at scale. That's kind of a theme of our show today. Is managing, making it easier for customers to manage at scale. And these are simple updates, but effective, and I can tell are going to be used greatly. So awesome. Hey, Jeff, before I forget, we've got a question in the chat from Robert Tables. It kind of flew by. A longtime listener, I think, Robert Tables. We all recognize the name. He wants to know, Jeff, how do you decompress after reInvent?
Do I actually decompress? I think so. So what I like to do is I tend to not to just fully take time off, but I just kind of adjust like the proportion of work and other. And, so I on regular days, it's, maybe 80-20, but after reInvent, I'll make it 50-50 or 40-60, something like that. And I try not to step onto the treadmill right afterward. And it's kind of hard because we're doing so much amazing work. And you look at the what's new, and the pace hasn't stopped after reInvent. You'd think we would have like emptied out the warehouse of all the misfit toys and sent them all out, and but nope, there's more and more stuff just always launching, and there's always a couple stragglers that were not quite ready for reInvent, and then a little bit later we say, okay, it's really ready, let's just ship it now.
Yeah, I don't know that there is any decompression after reInvent. Like for me, provided I didn't get sick on the plane on the way home, I kind of ride this like reInvent buzz. I'm like, there's all this new stuff.
Same.
I'm going deep on some of the Bedrock announcements right now. I'm deploying all kinds of stuff into some accounts. But I can tell you, I'm looking forward to that break between Christmas. I take some time off. That will be my decompression.
Yeah, same.
One piece of advice I always give people is you need to, no matter how hard you're working, you have to work on a sustainable basis. You can't push parts of your life off to some kind of like later and say, well, I'm so busy with this deadline or this reInvent or this whatever work thing that I'll just push all the other stuff off into later, because you get to go at a certain speed, and you have to just like stick with that speed and just make sure all the other bits of your life are being addressed and fit together all the time. Not you can't just get out of balance and hope to, like, you can't you can't like feed your pets once after reInvent after you forgot them for 2 months, and you can't water your plants after they've all turned brown and all those kind of things. So you just have to like do all the stuff all the time.
Yeah, you got to feed that Tamagotchi.
Oh yeah, I totally do. Totally do.
Hey, so I want to make sure I make one last announcement as we get ready to sign off here. Next year, AWS OnAir will be moving. We will be officially
Hawaii.
Hawaii. We'll all be streaming from Hawaii. Jeff got us a place there. It's going to be really nice. No, we will be streaming.
It's going to be an image that he generated that we're going to pretend that we're from.
Yeah, right. No, we will actually be streaming from the main AWS handle. So twitch.tv/AWS. AWS OnAir will be sunset, and we will join folks over at the AWS channel. And I'm excited to kind of continue the announcements and all the new stuff. And I know we've got great content lined up for season 6. I don't know if this is this the last show of the year, Jeff? Farrah? Are we it?
I think so.
I think so.
I feel like we should have done something a little bit more like festive. I should have like dressed up like an elf or something.
I did wear my AWS OnAir shirt from reInvent. It's kind of like my camera's a bit low, but there you go.
Oh, nice.
I just have my sparkle shirt on. I thought about putting a Christmas sweater on, but I couldn't find it actually. That's why I didn't.
Nice. All right. Hey, Jeff.
Like commodities. Everybody wants one. Hot commodities.
Yeah, I need a sparkle shirt. I need some sparkle pants to go with the sparkle shirt. Hey, Jeff. Well, hey, thanks for coming on and giving us all of those life tips. I always appreciate your wisdom and seeing you. I also look forward to the Friday show as a way to wrap up the week. And Farrah, it was a pleasure hosting with you.
Okay, I realized the right answer to Robert Table's question was gzip-d, but
I don't know if I get that reference. I think I missed
unzip. How do you decompress? You do gzip.
Right? I got that question.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Well, on that note, thanks everybody for tuning in.
He got it. Okay.
All